So it's about 5 minutes after the last video. Skyler was right in here barking, and then she went behind the couch over here and was actually at one point underneath this chair. So basically, for dogs, the way that she was barking, she was telling me, "I disagree with you being here. I don't want you to be here." And she did it from a distance, though, like I mentioned in the other video, which tells me there's a little bit of insecurity. Now, it is a territorial display, don't get me wrong. She thinks this is her house. And the reason she thinks this is her house, and this is great, you see how quickly for a minute there at least, she relaxed. So the reason that she thinks this is her house is because I asked her guardian what rules she had, and it turns out really she doesn't have any rules. So this is probably related a little bit to the potty training issue, as well as the nipping and the barking, because if she tells somebody to do something in dog language, most people don't read dog language, so they don't see it and they don't recognize it. And then, as far as she's concerned, well, they're ignoring me. Well, if somebody comes up to grab you on the street and you don't know them and don't want them to, you're going to say, "Hey, man, stop." If they continue, you're going to raise your voice. They continue again, you might brace your arms in front of you to block that person. They continue, you might shove that person away. It continues, it would keep on escalating. So the nipping is the next logical progression for a dog. If it thinks it's in a leadership position, I tell you what to do and you're not listening, I have to raise the ante. I have to raise my level of disagreement so that until I get my point across. So because the way that dogs learn is they go through life basically probing to determine where boundaries, limits are, kind of like we talked a little bit off camera. Mm-hmm. So if we don't have rules, that gives the dog all sorts of preconceived or misconceptions about their authority. So rules, let's talk about some rules that we can incorporate. I want the dog to identify as a follower, like a child to a parent. Child doesn't fear their parent. I mean, in some cases they do, but really the child listens because the parent is there for them. They nurture them, they protect them, they feed them, they clothe them. They do all these things that generate respect for the child, for the parent as an authority figure. There we go. So nice lay down. What I'm doing is I put her on a leash. As you can see, I'm stepping on it. I'm just giving her enough room. She can walk around. I'm not telling her not to bark or not to do anything, but because she can't bark and then run away, she stopped the barking.
Right.
So, and again, it's a protest. So one of the first rules I usually suggest is no furniture for a month. And I have a lot of people like, "You just don't want dogs on furniture." It has nothing to do with that. For dogs, the higher they sit amongst their peers, the more rank or status they have. So if we let them sit the same height as us, we're telling them we're equals. So we're communicating to them part of the reason why she's acting this way is because we've told her you are equal. So what I usually suggest is no furniture for 30 days, and at the end of 30 days, only with an invitation, and only for good behavior. So if you invite her on the furniture and then she starts barking, she has to immediately get off. Or if she's on the furniture and she gets off to go get a drink of water, when she comes back, she would need permission to get back on the furniture. So I usually suggest 30 days or as long as your problems continue. But she may have potty training issues. It may be a marking issue. She's old enough. Some females do mark. And if this is my house, and I would prefer just to pee on the carpet, and I don't mind, it's my house, I can do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go through a little segment on potty training here in a minute, and we'll kind of cover that. But in case it is marking, the rules and structure will help that.
Okay.
I'm guessing you eat here because the TV is right over here. So I'm guessing you sit here and eat while you watch TV like most of us do. So when you're doing that, where is she?
Right here.
She's sitting in the chair next to you.
She's right up here.
Okay. Oh, she's on top of a little hassock next to you. Okay. Yeah. Or a little armrest. So that means I have more authority than a human, and I'm infringing on a human's space in a very primally important activity. For dogs, they spend 90% of their time in the wild looking for food. It is the primal drive. It is the biggest, one of the biggest things for their social interactions. So if you were having company and you went to go in your bedroom to change clothes and one of your female guests followed you, you might be like, "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm just going to watch. I'm not going to do anything." Well, that would still be inappropriate. We need boundaries and distance to help our, understand limits. And so same sort of thing for dogs. To be within 10 feet of anyone who's eating in the dog world is extremely disrespectful. It's a challenge almost for food, even if they're not actively begging for it. But in this situation, she's sitting higher than you are. She's trying to intimidate you, essentially. Now, it smells good, so I mean that's a part of the attraction. But, just because there's a pretty girl doesn't mean we can go in the girls' locker room and watch her undress. Wanting is different than what's appropriate.
Right.
So what I would suggest is when you're eating, I would make a box. So kind of a line coming from here, going to around the table, and going to the wall over there. So this is like a no dog zone while you're eating. I'm going to show you how to establish that here in a little bit. Do you have a little, you have a deck? Does she ever go out there to potty?
No.
Okay.
No.
So every time you leave the apartment, I would make sure that she sits before you open the door.
Okay.
And then I'll show you a little exercise where we make her sit and pop the door open a couple times so she has to do the work and stay and wait for you to go first, because for dogs, whoever's in front is considered the leader, whoever's behind is considered the follower. So simply by letting her exit the door first, that makes her having more authority than you.
Okay.
I'm also guessing when she's nipping and barking like that you pick her up kind of like to make sure she doesn't nip somebody or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So for dogs, because like I mentioned, the higher they are, the more status they have. So if she's barking at someone and you pick her up, you're rewarding her. You're encouraging that behavior to continue. Now, sometimes they stop barking because now, I've got my human's full attention and I'm riding my human like a horse, essentially, even though they're on our arm. But that's kind of the vibe the dog has. So I wouldn't I wouldn't pick her up. What I would do is something similar to this, putting her on a leash, step on the leash, or have the person she's barking at step on the leash. Now, when you do this, they should not pet her. They should not talk to her. We don't tell her not to bark.
Acknowledge her.
Don't do anything. What we want her to do is just become nice and relaxed like she is now. Mm-hmm. And once she realizes she can't fight or flight, and the human's not meaning any harm, well, then they settle down pretty quickly. Right. So this is how the importance of rules and structure and how discipline can actually have a positive correlation to our dog's behavior.